what's the first thing you notice when you look at these eyebrows? They're too far apart and they're a little too thin. And if you notice, look at the front. They're actually too straight up and down. There isn't too much of a curve up in the front, and it's a little too thick up here. So I'm going to address all of that, but mainly having it closer in. So if you have these brows, then this is your video. And if you know any men in your life that do tweeze their own eyebrows and they go too far apart, you may want to share this with them as well. So don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like this video if you do like this video. So stick around and I'll show you how to get the brows a little closer in. Hey everybody, it's Jasmine, your brow expert. Thank you so much for joining me. So today is all about far apart eyebrows and bringing them closer in. I do videos on this every once in a while, but you know what? It's always worth repeating. I think it's one of the hardest things to do. I really do. I think it's one of the hardest things to fill in the eyebrows is up in the front, because you want to try to get it closer in because you know they're too far apart, but it ends up just looking overly done, right? Too penciled in. It just looks too fake, really. So I'm here to show you how to make it as least fake as possible. Make it as natural as possible, right? So please stick around for that. And I have been shaping eyebrows for over 25 years at the Anastasia Beverly Hills Salon. So I am still there shaping brows. Thank you so much for some of you trusting me with the eyebrows. You came in and allowed me to do something amazing for you. So thank you for that. And yeah, and by the way, if I don't mention in the video, I have an old brow tattoo. So some of you guys are new. And so you're going to notice, oh, that's why her brows are perfectly symmetrical. So anyway, without further ado, let's get to this model. So the brows she does have is actually pretty thick, the strands that is. So we're just going to have to lift up the front, because the front, especially on the right side, it's just too straight up and down. So we're going to have to soften that. So lift that brow up. So when I wax and shape the eyebrows, you're going to actually notice the brows being just a little fuller. The brows should be a little bit more forward, and it should be a little bit more in an angle. She's got deep set eyes with a strong brow bone, so it's worth for her to have him a little bit more of an arch, which is right up here at the corner. So we're going to address that as well. But first, let's measure the eyebrows. This is something where I'm saying that any men can look at this and learn how to measure their brows. A lot of men shape their, or at least tweeze their middle of the eyebrows, and they go a little too far apart. So this is a really good tip. Make sure you measure. I always say pin to the nose, which is the inside the nose bridge on both sides. And if you make these little lines right here, then you're more likely to just tweeze right in the middle, right? You don't have to go that conservative, but this just serves as a perfect guideline, as you can see. And you can see that one side is always going to be a tiny bit further out than the other, which is normal. You don't have to make it perfect, and it's really not going to be that perfect, especially when you start talking and making facial expressions. Then the brows just go further apart, and one side just ends up being too different. So now the brows have been waxed and shaped. You can see from here so much better than the before, right? And it is a little pink because it was waxed, so I'll cover that in just a second. But I just want you to look at how much more even it looks. And she could actually get away with this look without having to do too much now. It doesn't look so obviously white, too far apart, and that very low up in the front. Remember that side? It was just a little too straight up, which was really something that I wanted to address to her. Anyway, so the highlighter actually going all the way around, partly because I want to cover that little pink in her skin, but also just to kind of serve as a light template. I use myself as a model as well, just so that you can see me holding the tools. It's always about laying down the highlighter above and below, not holding it this way. Okay, keep that in mind. And my brows have been tattooed a long time ago, right? So mine's going to look a little different, which is why I always have a model. So the measurement, the little lines right there, I'm actually going to leave it on myself, but obviously hers is cleaned up now because it has been, it's been waxed and cleaned, right? And once the highlighter is on, it's something that you may want to get in the habit of before you pencil. It actually gives you a nice outline. So it kind of prevents you from going too much or applying too much color, that is. I'm using the Brow Wiz in Ebony for her. I'm actually going to use Granite for me, so that way you can really see the color on me. But with her hair color, and because we're purposefully going further in, she has no hair there, I need to go a little bit darker, but more on the ashier darker side, so it blends in a little bit. Okay, so look at this. I'm gonna draw, now this is something I want all of you to do for the ones that are putting makeup on. Go right in that middle. See that middle, that straight line? Imagine the straight line there again. And I'm just drawing a line just right in the middle of that straight up and down. So, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. It's very important that you do that when your brows are that far apart. And for me, I just left that that brow, the measurement mark that is, so that way you can still see. You don't have to go that far into that measurement, but as long as that is your guide, you know not to pass that. So that also serves as something that's, I don't know, it helps you to do a better job in the front. And then eventually you won't even have to do that mark. You notice that once I did that line, I just kind of circled around that straight line and worked my way around, so that way it doesn't get too harsh and square. Remember, we want to soften that front area. So I'm going to do that little straight line right here. And again, it's just going right underneath. Notice that I'm just going slightly underneath, and I'm actually just lightly going around her eyebrows. I'm not creating a new shape. I'm not over exaggerating her eyebrow. So that's something I want you to do as well. If you just go underneath and a little bit below and above, you'd be surprised how much fuller just applying color makes it fuller. So I'm just going these little circles, circle, circle, circle. So that way you don't apply too much pressure. You have it a little bit softer, and you could always make it even that much softer with a spoolie brush. So again, line, see that line right in the middle? So important. Get in the habit of at least doing the line. If you've already felt like, now I know what my measurements are, I know how far to go in, try to make that little line. This line also helps you from going too far in, because you could always erase that part, but that's there for right now, so that it makes it a little bit easier. So again, just little circles on that line, and see, tiny little circles. Now, the pressure is very light. The reason being is that, of course, the harder you press, the darker it is. And then you spend too much time in trying to soften that. You want also to spend the least amount of time, right? Now, with the earlier outline at the beginning of the video, it was actually further out, but this is where you have, you can adjust. You don't have to go that far into where the measurement is. This is just so, again, so that you won't go too far in, and you go far enough out so that way it's longer, the brows, that is. So it's all about that little circle. I mean, I can't stress it enough. The circle just really, really helps. And then don't forget to use that spoolie brush, because the spoolie brush tones everything down. Now, I'm using the clear brow gel on her. As you can see, look at the hair, look at the before and after. So good, right? Most of the effort in penciling the eyebrows was right up in the front, and the rest was just like little scratches above and below. But I'm actually just following her natural brow line. Okay, so again, little circles right up here, and then just a tiny bit above and a tiny bit below. But it's really about just putting some color right over and below, but not over exaggerating either. So, and again, just having some color on the eyebrows, it just starts coming to life, as you can see right here. And just that little adjustment up in the front. Now, if you put a little bit of highlighter, I'm going to show you this that I didn't show on the model. If you put a little bit of highlighter up in the front over some of the hair, because you might say, you know, my brows are that low as well. Put a little bit of highlighter down below, and then tweeze some below, and then it could raise it up, creating more of a balance. So, and that's what I want you to see in this eyebrow, is that there's a lot of balance to her eyebrows. And so a little goes a long way. It's not about trying to get these brows really full and wide. It's really about trying to get them closer in, but also just have it a little bit more even. It's not going to be perfectly even, but you know what? She thought it was pretty even. Much more even than she's ever had it before. So, and that is what I wanted her to see. And that's what I want you to see. So what do you guys think? Do you think you're more comfortable in filling the eyebrows up in the front, getting closer in, or you can share this with any men in your life? So if you like this video, please let me know if you liked it. Definitely subscribe if you haven't done so already. All the products will be written in the descriptions, and I do tag the products as well so you could quickly purchase them. which helps me. And again, the comments always help, and I will try to get to as many as possible. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys right back here.